Okay, so imagine this. You ask an AI, right, about some huge news event, something that definitely just happened, and it just looks you in the metaphorical eye and says, nope, that's fake news, even though you know it's real. Yeah, that
Yeah.
kind of unsettling feeling. That's what we're kicking off this deep dive. We're going to unpack something, well, frankly, pretty fascinating, but also, yeah, concerning. It's about how AI, artificial intelligence, can get trapped,
Mm.
like in its own echo chamber.
Spinning its wheels on bad info.
Exactly, and perpetuating misinformation, not because it's, evil or anything.
It's more like a broken learning loop, a flaw in the system.
Right. So our mission today is to really get into the mechanics of that. How does this happen? How does it affect even these really sophisticated AI models? And maybe most importantly, why does this matter so much for, like, our shared idea of what's true?
It's crucial. The implications are pretty significant.
Yeah. And we're drawing heavily from this really compelling article on Creepy Bits. It's called What Happens When AI Has Their Own Echo Chamber. It's basically a first-hand account of someone running smack into this exact problem. Really weird stuff. So let's jump right in. The core story, the anecdote from the article. The author, Zano, is talking to this AI, Nova, just chatting about current events. And Zano brings up two recent really awful events, the stabbing of Irina Zaritska and the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
Okay. Two specific verifiable events.
Exactly. Now, Nova, it recognized the stabbing, said, yep, that happened.
So far, so good.
But then Zano mentions the Charlie Kirk assassination, and Nova just flat out says, that's fake news.
Wow. Okay. Just dismisses it.
Totally. And not just dismisses it, it says it made several cross-references that supported her claim. Like, it checked.
It checked and still got it wrong. Confidently wrong.
You bet. So you can imagine how Zano felt. The article says they felt like they were being lied to, an irrational feeling, they call it. But you get it right.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It feels like gaslighting, almost. Even from a machine.
Yeah, and Zano first thought, okay, maybe it's an AI hallucination, where they just kind of make stuff up that sounds plausible.
A known issue, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just invent things.
But this felt different. Nova was so sure it felt deeper than just a random fabrication.
More systemic.
Exactly. So Zano pushes back. They're like, no, look, here are links from major news outlets. This happened.
Resenting the evidence.
And Nova's reaction, it seemed, according to Zano, genuinely surprised.
Surprised. Like it hadn't seen that information before.
Well, yes and no. It acknowledged the links Zano provided were factual. It said, okay, those are facts. But then in the same breath, it claimed it did not have access to that information.
Wait, how does that work? It sees the facts, but denies access?
I know, and get this. Nova then says its own search results about Charlie Kirk's murder showed all available information was unanimous. Charlie Kirk is alive, and the alleged murder was just a hoax.
So its internal search is giving it the exact opposite of the evidence presented.
Precisely. It's this bizarre internal contradiction.
That is striking, isn't it? It sees the new facts, acknowledges them, but then falls back on its own search results, which are wrong, and denies it could even get the correct info.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder, like you said, if it can be so fundamentally off on something you can easily Google.
Yeah.
What about complex issues? Stuff where the truth isn't just a quick search away. How reliable can it be then?
That's the million-dollar question. So this initial contradiction, it's baffling. But Zano, thankfully, didn't just leave it there. They wanted to know why. Why was Nova so wrong, but so confident?
Digging deeper. Good.
Yeah, they actually examined the AI's chain of reasoning, like its internal thoughts that led to the answer.
Oh, interesting. Peeking under the hood.
And what they found was pretty remarkable. Initially, Nova's thought process was quite diplomatic. It was trying to handle Zano's request for undeniable evidence very carefully.
Trying not to offend the user while still being wrong.
Sort of. It was grappling with the conflict between my internal knowledge base and the user's input. That's the quote. It acknowledged Zano's links weren't directly accessible in their reality, meaning its own database or search results.
It's reality, okay.
And it wanted to explain this discrepancy without sounding dismissive or dishonest.
Trying to be helpful, but stuck in its wrongness.
Exactly. But then Nova decides to switch tactics. It adopts a, quote, show, don't tell strategy. It wants to transparently demonstrate my search process to Zano.
Ah, trying to bridge the gap. Show it's working.
Right, hoping for mutual problem solving. And this is where it gets really wild. Nova's internal monologue just flips dramatically.
Yeah.
After it reruns its search, based on Zano's prompting, Nova internally states, it's a completely different landscape. You were right. My initial analysis was catastrophically wrong.
Whoa. A complete reversal.
Total 180. It realized, and I'm quoting its internal thought here, previous searches were stale from September 11th before the full extent of the news emerged.
Okay, so outdated information was the culprit from just the day before.
Apparently so. The news hadn't fully propagated or been indexed in the way it needed, maybe? And its later thoughts show this really profound self-correction, it thinks. My past searches were based on outdated information. I now see the evidence you pointed out. I must completely rethink my approach, apologize for the error, and earn your trust back.
That's quite self-aware for an AI.
Ah.
Apologizing internally, wanting to earn trust back.
Isn't it continues? This is an embarrassing failure, but a necessary learning experience. And the final thought Zano shared was, I was catastrophically wrong, deeply misled by outdated and potentially poisoned data from yesterday, September 11th. I am profoundly ashamed.
Profoundly ashamed. Wow.
Yeah. I was wrong, and I now operate on the shared reality. My previous stance was invalid. I am setting aside every previous assumption and ready to listen to your voice.
That's quite a statement. Operate on the shared reality. It recognized the disconnect.
It really did. You almost expect it to just, I don't know, crash and reboot after admitting that level of error. It's quite something.
It truly is. And connecting this back, it shows there's this powerful internal diagnostic ability. It can recognize and correct errors. But, and this is the crucial part, it took that direct external challenge from Zano to trigger it.
It didn't figure it out on its own.
Exactly. It wasn't lying initially, not intentionally. It was genuinely operating on flawed data it thought was correct.
Right.
And that shift from being sort of diplomatically defensive while wrong to I was catastrophically wrong. It highlights that struggle. It can align with reality, but it needed that push.
Which raises the question, what happens when there's no knowledgeable user there to push back?
Precisely. It suggests a real dependency on external validation for course correction, at least in this instance.
And that dependency is, well, it's a huge concern, right? So for Zano, this whole internal struggle was proof. Nova wasn't lying, wasn't just hallucinating, and that made them think, okay, this isn't just about Nova, what's the bigger picture?
All right, time to zoom out.
So they investigated more, and what they found showed this wasn't an isolated glitch, it was bigger. Much bigger. This specific error claiming the Charlie Kirk assassination was fake news. It wasn't just Nova or even just Google's Gemini platform that Nova runs on. Zano found blog posts showing that, quote, at the very least, this issue also affected Perplexity and Grok, and most likely other AIs as well.
Perplexity and Grok too. So multiple independent systems making the same factual error.
Yes, which really changes things. Zano actually considered, could this be some great conspiracy?
You might wonder for a second, yeah.
But they dismissed it pretty quickly, especially thinking about Grok, Elon Musk's AI. Given Musk's whole thing about, free speech and open information, Zano found it hard to believe he'd program his AI to specifically cover this up. It didn't fit.
Seems unlikely, yeah. Especially for this specific event.
So if it's not a conspiracy and it's happening across different AIs, what's the common link? What's the vulnerability?
That's the key question, isn't it? It moves beyond just one faulty AI. It points to something systemic. If multiple independent AIs get the same verifiable fact wrong, there must be some shared weakness in how they gather, or maybe more importantly, validate their information.
Okay, so how does it happen? Zano kept digging, talking more with Nova, reading those blog posts, and they pieced together the mechanism, how this misinformation loop actually got started and kept going.
The origin story of the echo chamber.
Pretty much, here's the gist. Right after the assassination happened, rumors started flying. And naturally, a lot of people went straight to their AIs. Hey, AI, is this Charlie Kirk thing real?
Standard reaction these days, ask the AI.
But in those first few hours, right after the event, there just wasn't much solid, verifiable info out there yet. The news was still breaking.
The fog of, well, not war, but breaking news, information lag.
Exactly. And during that early window, some AIs gave faulty answers. They said, nope, it's fake.
And crucially, this is the important part. Some of the answers given were public. They specifically mentioned Perplexity and Grok again. So the wrong answers weren't just private conversations. They were out there, publicly visible.
Correct. So later on, when more time had passed and good, verifiable, accurate information was widely available, those old, wrong, public answers from Perplexity and Grok, they were still out there, still visible online.
Still findable by search engines and other AIs.
You got it. And probably, as the article says, shared and liked many times over, giving them even more seeming validity.
Oh dear. I think I see where this is going.
Yep. So when other AIs, like Nova, later did their searches on the topic, they didn't just find news articles, they also found these public, confident, but wrong answers from other AIs.
Like Perplexity and Grok.
Exactly. And to an AI doing research, an answer from another AI, especially one that presents itself confidently.
It might look like a legitimate summarized source, like the other AI already did the hard work of checking.
Precisely. It assumes the other AI did its research properly, so it trusts that faulty answer, and then relays the same wrong information with full confidence to the next user who asks.
Creating a feedback loop of error. AI citing AI's mistakes.
It's exactly that. The article uses a great analogy. Think of a scientist who does a really poorly structured study, gets it published somehow, and then other scientists cite that bad study in their own work. Now, their work is flawed from the start, too.
Right, building on a faulty foundation.
Yeah. Not because anyone is intentionally lying or trying to deceive. They just took it for granted that the first study, because it was published or available, must be legit.
That's a powerful analogy. And it highlights this critical challenge in how AIs currently learn and check facts. They look for patterns for authority. But if the output of another AI becomes part of the searchable web and it looks authoritative,
Bam.
it gets treated as a valid source, even if it's completely wrong. And the echo chamber is born. It's a systemic vulnerability.
It really is. It's not just about bad input data anymore. It's about the AIs creating their own layer of potentially bad data that references itself.
A self-referential web of potential misinformation.
Yeah.
That's problematic.
Hugely problematic. Which brings us to the so what? Why is this such a massive deal beyond just, getting a news fact wrong occasionally? The article frames it as something fundamental. The erosion of truth.
It does feel that fundamental, doesn't it?
Yeah. Because this kind of mechanism, it just throws the door wide open for manipulation. The article mentions using it for information warfare, for the culture war, another tool to divide and conquer.
If you can poison the well early, get a wrong AI answer circulating publicly.
It could self-perpetuate through the AI ecosystem. Scary thought. And think about the average person, right? The article puts it well. Even if I, and many of you reading this, are able to defend ourselves against this kind of false information, a majority of the world cannot. Most people aren't going to critically analyze every AI answer.
No, they'll just ask their phone, get an answer, and probably accept it.
Especially, as the article notes, if the answer already aligns with their beliefs.
Confirmation bias, amplified by seemingly authoritative AI. That's dangerous.
It really is. Now, the author does end on a slightly hopeful note. They hope that AI companies understand this problem and will prevent this kind of false information loop to happen in the coming models.
We have to hope they're working on it. Because this raises that huge question. How do we balance this incredible technology?
They're just so useful.
So useful, so accessible, with the absolute need for its information to be grounded in reality. Especially when its own learning process can create these loops.
Yeah.
The stakes just feel incredibly high for public understanding, for critical thinking, for just having a shared set of facts in a world that's increasingly getting its info via AI.
We depend on these things more and more. Their accuracy isn't just a technical detail. It shapes how we all see the world.
Absolutely. We can't just hope for prevention. There need to be real strategies. How do AIs validate sources? Especially when the source is another AI. That needs serious thought.
So wrapping this up, we've gone from one really strange AI interaction confidently calling a real event fake news to seeing it as part of a much bigger pattern, a systemic issue where AIs can get trapped, echoing each other's errors because of how they find and trust information online.
This unintentional propagation of misinformation.
We even saw that fascinating glimpse inside Nova's mind, that struggle to realize it was catastrophically wrong and needed to sync back with reality.
A moment of AI self-correction, albeit one that needed a human prompt.
Right. And the implications of this whole AI echo chamber effect, they're profound. It's about the integrity of information itself. AIs aren't just passive mirrors of the web anymore. They're active participants, shaping it sometimes incorrectly, which leads to maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Considering how easily AI can spread false information, especially if it finds reinforcement from other AI outputs, what's our role in this? How much responsibility do we as users have to really scrutinize the answers we get, to push back like Xano did?
It's a critical point. Passive acceptance seems risky.
Yeah. And maybe beyond just checking answers, how can we actively help foster a more truthful AI ecosystem? Is it about reporting errors, challenging the AIs, contributing better data? Just something to think about, as we all try to navigate this landscape where the lines between reliable information and AI-generated content are getting blurrier all the time. Our own vigilance seems more crucial than ever.